Welcome back to our live coverage of the United States Senate race in the great state of Massachusetts. The Associated Press having called the race for Scott Brown, the Republican candidate, with 52% of the vote over Martha Coakley, the Democrats, 47%. That's with 92% of precincts reporting. I'm Rachel Maddow, live at Doyle's Cafe in Jamaica Plain here in Massachusetts. Open questions here right now include the question of when Senator Scott Brown will be seated, when he will actually take office as the United States Senator. The Secretary of State in Massachusetts today pledging that would happen as soon as possible. You're looking at pictures right now of Massachusetts Governor Deval Patrick at the Martha Coakley headquarters. Of course, we're expecting to hear from State Attorney General Martha Coakley. Also looking there at John Kerry, United States Senator, the senior United States Senator. His junior member will now be a Republican. When Scott Brown is sworn in, he will be Massachusetts' first Republican United States Senator since 1978. We're looking at pictures right now from Martha Coakley's headquarters.
Thank you.
We'll go live to the podium there.
Thank you. I want to thank all of you for everything you did today and throughout this campaign. I know you all worked very hard.
Martha Coakley's headquarters. Chris Matthews is here with me at Doyle's Pub in Jamaica. We've also got Nora O'Donnell on standby at Scott Brown's headquarters in downtown Boston. Can I bring Chris into this discussion? Chris, waiting right now, obviously, for Martha Coakley's statement on her loss. This is a race that Scott Brown is being credited with certainly having won, but this was the Democrats to give away. Are there going to be recriminations here in terms of Democratic politics?
Yeah, I think one thing I want to do at midnight tonight is go through the endangered Democrats, the ones who worry very much right now. Certainly Blanche Lincoln is worried. A conservative relatively conservative Democrat.
Because as goes Massachusetts, so goes Arkansas?
As goes Massachusetts, anything can happen. That's what I think. If you can beat him here, you can beat him anywhere. So Arlen Specter, he is definitely worried. Certainly Harry Reid is worried. Even people we thought of as sort of the lucky people in political history, like Evan Bayh, have to worry. Because they don't know now, because it's uncertain. This is what I quoted from William Allen White, the great Midwestern editor. People are dissatisfied. They don't know who to blame, but they have a target, the incumbent, whoever it is. And when you get to the blame game, do we blame the president? Do we blame the Democratic Party structure for not having gone to her aid? Do we blame the candidate? There's a lot of suspects out there.
Well, it seems to me that that politicking matters, as you were saying earlier, that it's old school politicking, but it's really about running a good campaign. We saw in Virginia that a lot of people looked at the Cree Deeds race and said, oh, this is a referendum on Obama. A lot of Democrats look at that and thought, Cree Deeds ran a really bad campaign. And in Massachusetts right now, that's going to be part of the autopsy. Whether or not Martha Coakley ran a bad enough campaign, Democrats put up so poor a fight for this seat that it's more about this individual race than it is about Barack Obama.
Great example in Massachusetts history. In 1952, Dwight Eisenhower, Republican, swept this state. Guess who won the Senate race? Jack Kennedy.
Yeah.
So you don't always go down because the president's unpopular or the party's not popular. A lot of times people discriminate. They go and, well, I think I like this guy, but I don't like that guy. Sure. Pennsylvania's been splitting its ticket at the top for all my life. So I do think people know, but I think there is you and I are in the same world. We deal all the time in the cosmos we live in, the zeitgeist, the spirit of the times, are unhappy. There's a dissatisfaction out there. It may be the cold winter. It may be the unemployment rate, which is not going down. People react. I've always believed that you can trust economic circumstances to give you a fabulous reading on the mood of the country. Richard Nixon, people say, what do you mean, he covered up a break-in and he lost his presidency over that? No, the times were terrible economically. Bill Clinton embarrassed us with Monica, but you know what? The times were great. And I'm Marxist when it comes to analysis. People judge their current economic circumstances, and then they make political judgments.
This is one of those nights, though, when we can be absolute purists in terms of extrapolating from this one race, because there was only one race. This is the only race happening anywhere in the country right now. You look at Massachusetts. Massachusetts' unemployment rate is better than or worse than the national unemployment rate. It's actually better. It's about 8.8, which sucks, but it's not 10. You look at the president's approval ratings in this state, they're 10 points better than they are in the rest of the country. So if you're trying to say what's going on economically is shaping the way people feel about the party in power as represented by the president, it's not borne out by the numbers in this state. I think politicking, campaigning, whether or not you're actually trying, makes a difference.
Okay, let me give you your point. You make a point. The New York Times poll, yes, the New York Times yesterday reported that among Massachusetts voters who liked the president, Martha Coakley was down. So that makes your point. So there were people that went to the polls today who said if I had to vote on the president today, I would have voted for Obama. But I'm not voting for the other candidate. I'm not voting for Martha Coakley.
Candidates matter. Campaigns matter. You know what I felt like, what I was seeing when I was looking at this race, was George Bush versus John Kerry. That you had a very charismatic, very aggressive campaigning guy who had policies that were actually pretty far to the right of most of the country. And then you had somebody who's sort of lifelong public servant with this resume that, you know, you'd tattoo on yourself if you could, and he ends up looking like the sap, and he ends up the guy who doesn't run a very aggressive campaign, assumes that his lifetime of service is going to be the thing that stands him up, and he doesn't win it. He can't pull it off.
Yeah, I remember putting together on my Sunday show a bit of tape, and it's always anecdotal and unfair, but there's George W. Bush, who I'm not impressed with in terms of his leadership and his decisions. But he walked into a little dinette with a little family there, and he said hello to the boys and the girls, and he said, "Hey, fella, it must be tough having all these sisters." You know, quick connection. John Kerry came in. He found a woman like you sitting trying to read a book, and he started telling her about some GPO report or something. I go, "What are you doing to this woman? She wants her lunch. She wants to read this book." And it wasn't right. So you're right. Sometimes we judge people on how they approach us, and maybe that's idiotic, but it's part of democracy.